Hi children, today we are going to start the second chapter, that is microorganisms, friend and foe. So what do you mean by friend? We already know what is friend, that is they are not doing any harm, they are helpful to us, and foe means how, in what ways they are causing any harm to the human being or any other organisms. So here we will start that what are microorganisms are. Microorganisms, are the two small substances or organisms that are not visible with our naked eye. We have to see them with the help of some aid. Aid means microscope. We know there are different types of microscopes are there, simple microscope, compound microscope, and many more advanced electron microscope have came, which enable us to see these microorganisms and can help us to study in the detailed structure of these organisms. These microorganisms, that live in all kind of environment. They range from icy cold climate to hot springs in the deserts, in the marshy lands. So in a line, we can say that microorganisms are living, can exist in each and every condition. And they can survive in extreme conditions only, that is too much hot or too much cold. Next, microorganisms are found in air, water, and in the bodies of plants and animals. So not only microorganisms are found in the atmosphere, in the air, or in water, it is also present inside the body of the living organism, that is the plants and animals. They may be unicellular or multicellular. Unicellular means already we know uni means one. So they may be made up of a single cell, or they may be again made up of more than one cell, that is they may be multicellular. Microorganisms include some groups of organisms, that is bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and some algae. These are the four major groups of microorganisms. Sometimes virus, though different from the above mentioned living organisms, are referred to as microbes also. But this virus is not generally included in the category of these major groups, because viruses are quite different from the other microorganisms. Why? Because they reproduce only inside the cell of the host organism, that is either in the body of the bacterium or in the body of the plants or animals. For example, we can see that the pandemic that is been spread due to COVID-19 virus. What is it? When it is outside in the air, it is not causing any harm. But when you are inhaling this virus inside, they are getting activated. They can show the living characteristics inside the body of other organism. That is why, for this reason, viruses are not included in the broad four categories of microorganisms. Better we can just say that viruses are the interlink between the living and the non-living world. Now we are going to study in detail about these microorganisms. First of all, bacteria. These bacteria are unicellular prokaryotic. Prokaryotic means, these are the primitive cells which doesn't have organized nucleus. Okay. Some bacteria are useful for human while some are harmful. So they are beneficial also, and so they are harmful also. There are four major groups of bacteria like Bacillus, Vibrio, Cocci, and Spirilla. You should remember this name only. Okay. Next, probiotic. What is probiotic? Probiotics are the live bacteria and yeast that are good for your health, especially your digestive system. So doctors sometimes prescribe these probiotics when you're having a stomach upset or to improve the condition of your digestive system. Next, the next broad category is fungi. Fungi are saprophytic or parasitic organisms. So, what is the nature of the nutrition? It is saprophyte. They can grow on dead and decomposed organism, or they can just inhibit on a host body and draw the nutrients and ultimately harm them, can sometimes kill the organism also. So they have a nutritic value, that is they are saprophytic and they are parasitic organism. They are mostly multicellular. So mostly these fungi are multicellular except one, that is yeast. Yeast is unicellular and other fungi are all mostly multicellular. Okay. However, the next is the fungi are also having some advantages. What does it do? Fermentation. Fermentation is a metabolic process that converts the sugar to acid, gas or alcohol. So this fungi, better, they are having a capacity for a process that is called fermentation, which can convert sugar, that is carbohydrate, to some acids, gases or alcohol. Fermentation is used in the preparation of curd and alcohol. So mainly this fermentation process we use in the industries of curd and also preparation of alcohol. Next category of microorganism is protozoa. Protozoa, these are single-celled microscopic animals which include flagellate, ciliate, sporozoans and many other forms. Means flagellate means they are having some whip-like structure outside the body, like I'm just drawing. So this is the whip-like structure coming of their body. Ciliate means their body is covered like some hair-like structure. These are called cilia. So they are unicellular. They are having some whip-like structure that may be called flagella, and they are having some finger-like projections or hairy projections out. They are called cilia or they are called ciliates. And few examples of them are amoeba, paramecium, euglena and plasmodium. These are the examples of protozoa. And one most important thing you should have known about the dangerous disease that is called malaria, and this deadly disease is caused by the protozoa that is called plasmodium. The full scientific name is Plasmodium vivax. The next category, although it is not broadly grouped, that is virus. Viruses are organisms that possess nucleic acid but lack the replicating machinery. Replicating means they cannot divide. When outside the body, as I told you, they cannot divide. Thus, a virus cannot survive without a living cell. That is why they cannot just live outside a living body. Viruses are also considered to be the borderline between living and non-living entities. A few examples of the viruses are influenza virus, HIV virus, rabies virus, polio virus, tobacco mosaic virus, and now you can add also COVID also, COVID, COVID-19 virus. Okay, next it is, so how we can get relief of this bacterial disease, of this viral disease. So for that we use something. The first foremost thing is that vaccines and antibiotics. What are vaccines? This vaccine is a biological preparation that provides active acquired immunity to a disease. Vaccines means, for I'm giving you the example of COVID-19, that we are just, the doctors are taking out the COVID-19 virus and they are just cutting out the infectious part of the virus, and then this weakened virus is injected into the body of a healthy person. What will happen? By injecting this, the healthy person will acquire antibody, and this antibody will fight against this COVID virus whenever in future if the virus enters the body of the person. So that is called vaccination. So vaccines are usually made from the viral diseases. A few examples are the Salk virus, the polio, influenza virus, rabies virus, and now it is the COVID vaccines. So many are in use. So vaccines gives an active acquired immunity. Immunity means to fight, the strength to fight against disease in future. Next it is antibiotics. What is antibiotic? Antibiotic, is an inorganic or organic compound that inhibits and kills the microorganisms. That is, this inorganic or organic compound that stop the growth of microorganisms, or even better, kills the microorganism. Antibiotics usually target bacteria. So antibiotics mainly are prepared for killing the bacteria, not for virus. Okay, for virus we should have to prepare vaccines. Thus most of the bacterial disease are treated with antibiotics. Some examples are streptomycin, penicillin, tetracycline and erythromycin. Next, it is a very important term that you should know, pathogens. What are pathogens? Do you know what are pathogens? This pathogen is an organism that causes disease. So, the disease causing organisms are called pathogens, or they are also called germs. In this context, pathogens are microorganisms. That is, for this chapter, we are only considering the pathogens which are microorganisms like bacteria, protozoa, virus. Next, this pathogens, this causing the organisms that cause disease, sometimes they are transmitted to some organism, but the symptoms doesn't come. So these persons are called carrier. They are carrying the disease without any symptom. So what is it? Carrier is a person or organism infected with an infectious disease agent but display no symptoms of it. They can spread the infection since they already have the pathogen or the germ inside their body. So carriers doesn't get affected by themselves, or they are not getting affected, but they are actually transmitting or spreading the disease from them to a healthy person unknowingly, unconsciously, because there is no such symptoms of the disease. They are only carriers of the disease. Next, the important term is vector. What is vector? Vector is an organism which may be a biting insect or some other organism, and that transmit a disease or parasite from one animal to another. That is, for example, I'm just giving you, that is mosquito. The female Anopheles mosquito. You have already, so far when you're a child, you have heard that the Anopheles mosquito, when they bite, they will cause malaria. But do actually this mosquito bite causes malaria? It is not. Because this female Anopheles mosquito, they sometimes they are get infected. They are get infected by some protozoa that is called Plasmodium. When this protozoa just go into the body of the female Anopheles mosquito, it doesn't cause any harm or any disease to the body of the mosquito. This mosquito just carry this protozoa, and whenever it sits on a healthy person and just try to suck the blood from the host or the healthy person, these protozoans are just put into the body of the healthy person, and thus this protozoa starts multiplying inside the body of the healthy person, and that healthy person gets the disease called malaria. This plasmodium mainly resides inside the RBC, red blood cell, and go on multiplying and multiplying and multiplying, and ultimately at some time they burst. This bursting of the RBC gives the shivering effect and high fever in case of malaria. Okay, so vectors are what? The vectors is an organism that can transmit a disease or a parasite from one animal to another without itself getting infected. Okay. For example, one more example I have given over here, that is Aedes mosquito that spreads dengue virus. So sometimes the virus that is responsible for dengue fever, they just enter the Aedes mosquito's body, and when this Aedes mosquito bites a healthy person, this virus get injected into the body of the healthy person, and the healthy person will get the disease called dengue. Next, the airborne diseases. So what are airborne diseases? That is the certain disease that can spread by air. They are called the airborne diseases. The diseases are called, like influenza is an example of airborne disease. Waterborne disease, similarly, like airborne disease, that are disease that are caused due to the infections in the water. The disease that spreads through water, they are called waterborne disease. Contaminated water is just having the pathogens, and when the person is drinking that contaminated water, he or she may get the waterborne disease. For example, typhoid is one example of waterborne disease. Next, here I have given some examples of disease, like tuberculosis is caused by bacteria. It is a mode of transmission is air. Measles virus, mode of transmission is air. Chickenpox is also virus. Mode of transmission is contact and air. Polio virus, it is a virus and mode of transmission is air and contact. Cholera caused by a bacteria, and it can be contaminated by food and water. Typhoid is a bacterial disease. By mode of transmission is by water. Hepatitis B is a viral disease and caused by the transmission by water. Next, malaria, it is caused by a protozoa and that is mode of transmission is mosquito bite. Sleeping sickness is also a disease that is caused by a protozoa and that is transmitted by a fly that is called tsetse. Plant disease. So certain pathogens can cause disease in plants also, just like humans and other animals. They may be bacteria, they may be virus. Several microorganisms cause disease in plants like rice, potato, wheat, sugarcane, orange, apple, and others. So here I have given some examples like citrus canker. It is a bacterial disease and it is the mode of transmission is air. Rust of wheat, it is a fungal disease and it's caused by air and also through infected seeds. Yellow vein mosaic of windy. It is a viral disease and it is transmitted by insects. Next, the major field in this chapter is food poisoning and food preservation. That is how the food getting spoiled, how they are getting poisoned, and what are the different several methods by which we can prevent their poisoning or we can make the food free from infection. So food poisoning, first of all, when food contaminated with pathogens or toxins are consumed, it causes food poisoning. Toxin means the toxic substances that are not good for a body. The most common symptoms is pain in the stomach. In several cases, food poisoning can also causes death. So in severe cases, death also can occur. So we have to do food preservation. So what is food preservation? Is the most vital part of the food industry. Certain chemicals inhibits the growth of bacteria, increases the life of the cooked food. Certain simple preservative methods can be carried out in your home also. So some methods we will just discuss. You should remember it that chemical method is that chemical preservatives are used in food preservation by major food industries as they are harmless to human being. Sodium metabisulfate and sodium benzoate are commonly used chemical preservatives. Okay, we can use salts also. Common salts known as sodium chloride is used as a preservative at home. Vegetables are pickled using salts and the salts remove water and kills the bacteria or fungi. Preservation by sugar. In your homes also you have seen some achars are prepared by your nani or dadi. They add sugar to it. Sometimes they add lot of salt and oil to it. So we can preserve some food by adding sugar to it also. Sugar is used for preservation of jams, jellies, squashes. The growth of microbes is restricted by the use of sugar and it reduces the moisture content also. Preservation by oil and vinegar. Many food preparations like pickles are preserved by adding either oil or vinegar. Bacteria cannot grow in such medium. So if their medium is there and it is there, vinegar is there, vinegar means acid and oil is there. So what will happen? There will be less moisture and no microbes can grow over there. Next it is pasteurization. What is pasteurization? Is a process superheating and cooling the beverage to kill the pathogenic microbes. Pasteurization ensures the taste of the beverage such as milk will does not get destroyed. So what happens mainly we do this process in case of milk, preservation of milk. First what should we do? We just start heating the milk at least to a temperature of 70 to 72 degrees Celsius and then suddenly we just cool down the mass of milk and this process is known as pasteurization. So by pasteurization we can preserve mostly this milk and the milk can stay good for a long period of time. Next it is storage and packing. So dry fruits you have seen and many vegetables are preserved in airtight containers. In absence of air, what will happen? There will be no reaction. The bacteria or fungi cannot respire in absence of oxygen. So there will be no growth of bacteria and fungi. So by proper storage and proper packing also we can preserve the food. The last very important point in this chapter that we should know is nitrogen cycle. What is nitrogen cycle? It is a biogeochemical means That is a biological process, it is a geological process, and also it is a chemical process by which nitrogen is converted into various chemical forms as it circulates among the atmosphere and terrestrial marine ecosystem. So what happens in this nitrogen cycle? You can see the atmospheric nitrogen is being fixed in the soil into different compounds that may be done by either thunderstorm, that is lightning, or by certain nitrogen fixing bacteria. One we have done in class 7, that is rhizobium. So both by this lightning or by some nitrogen fixing bacteria, the atmospheric nitrogen, that is N2, is converted either into ammonium ion NH4 or ammonia NH3, and later this ammonium ion getting converted to NO2, that is nitrogen dioxide, and ultimately this ammonia and nitrogen dioxide is getting converted to nitrate by a process called nitrification, and this nitrate can be taken up by the plant's root and they can be assimilated into the body of the plants and helps in the formation of protein. Okay, and there are some other bacteria, they are called denitrifying bacteria, which can break down these compounds of nitrogen and again release atmospheric nitrogen, that is break down the compound and releases elemental nitrogen into the atmosphere. Thus a continuous cycle of nitrogen from its elemental form to its compound form is carried on, and hence this cycle is known as nitrogen cycle. Okay children, so all these are the important things that we have learned in this chapter. Thank you.